Welcome to Wizard Team, a Black magical podcast for Black magical stories.
Hi everyone, it's Bayana, Robyn, and Porshèa embarking on a journey through the many fantasy stories written by and about Black people. Currently, we are reading Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston, and today we are discussing chapter 33, the final chapter. Ooh.
The epic conclusion
The
to
epic
the Amari
conclusion.
book one.
And now for the epic conclusion of Amari and the Night Brothers.
But first, what we discussed last week. So Amari and Dylan got to the boonies on their siblings' vehicle, was their pirate ship. But then when we get there, we find out that the key holder hasn't been, I guess, alive in some time. And that Moreau is there. And then, even bigger twist, Dylan is his apprentice. Who would have thunk it?
Dun, dun, dun.
I would have thunk it.
So...
I just want y'all to know. I didn't thunk it earlier on in the book, but I thunked it about the time of the break-in. Not that I didn't think Maria was also involved, but I didn't think that Dylan didn't know what was going on.
So yeah. So then Dylan wants Amari to join them, but Moreau said, that's over, that's canceled. We don't do that anymore. You're actually going to sacrifice yourself to bring back my dear brother Vladimir. And Dylan is like, how about I take your magic and Vladimir can also stay dead.
I'll take your man. I didn't like
that. Then he turns to Amari for one final time to be like, join me. Together we can rule as born magicians. And Amari's like, maybe not. So then he's like, fine.
I don't know what that means. Like, what does that mean?
Born
magicians. And so then Amari's like, no, I don't think so. So then Dylan's like, fine, I'll do it myself and take your magic too. But Amari, through the power of her belief in her magic, stops Dylan. We don't quite see how. Like, it kind of ends with, like, she brings all these illusions of herself. There's one that's, like, super armored, like, and then...
As if she's, like, an armored Titan from freaking Attack on Titan or something.
Yeah, and then there's, like, a burst of light, and then I think Amari passes out. That's how we...
It's lightning in her hand. Like, she is Thor reincarnated.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. I also want to point out that not only did Dylan say, join me, he said, forget about your brother and my sister. They can die.
He did say that. He did.
Just you and me. Let's do this together.
And it's like, what makes it even worse is that at that point, like, they were not, their life essences weren't needed any longer. Like, their life essences were being taken to power Vladimir coming back. Once you take out Moreau from the situation, like, they can live now. Like, even just to be merciful, like, just for the barest of, like, I don't even need this.
For more magician, which is Dylan's whole thing, right? It's like to make magician kind more superior. Like, at least Maria can.
Right, like he didn't have to let them die. Like he really didn't have to. Like he really could have just been like, oh yeah, sure, I'll let their spell dissipate. It's cool. I'll take care of it. No, because the principle. It's
crazy. So Amari says that normally she's not a fan of music that doesn't have a beat. I mean, if I can't bounce along to it, I'm just not interested. And I was like, did Amari say that? Or did Bayana say that? I'm confused.
Or did Frida say
I'm like, bass is important to me.
I was gonna say, like, you mean what? You mean what?
Yeah.
When I hear bounce,
bass
I
is
hear
very important
New
to
Orleans.
Me. Especially in a car. It needs to thump.
You need to feel something.
I need to feel it.
There's something nice about the soft little voice that Amari hears. It's just so nice, and the melody is so catchy. She opens her eyes, or her eyes open to the bluest eyes hovering above her, blink a couple of times, and Agent Fiona leans back a little bit, a big grin spreading across her face. There ye are, she's awake. The next thing I know, Elsie is on top of me, hugging me and kissing my cheek like I just rose from the grave or something. Wait, did I? I'm so glad you're with Elsie. If you weren't, I don't know what I would have done.
I love Elsie.
I love Elsie too.
I love that Amari is like, she's acting like I almost died. And then she's like, well, wait a second.
Wait a second.
Maybe I did.
Was I buried? Was I?
Let the kid breathe, Willia laughs Magnus. I also love that, like, we don't know exactly where Amari is, but she did just wake up from something that made them worried enough that Agent Fiona was hovering over her. Mm-hmm. And Elsie's like, nah, let me just jump on top of her. Mm-hmm. Give her all the loving.
That is a golden retriever energy, if I ever heard one.
I love a good golden. So now that she's got a little space and Elsie's let her breathe, she looks around at what looks and feels like a hospital room. Her mom, Renee, works at a hospital, so she knows enough to know when she's inside of one, but there's no equipment. The only thing that she sees is a lady in white in front of a microphone, and that's when it hits her. She's the woman from the departmental presentations who sang that guy out of a coma. I've just been sung back to health. I love that. So she's like a siren, basically.
But like not instead of luring to death, you're luring to health.
Like lures back to life. Like, yeah, she's like a reverse siren.
You think she's a siren. She just uses her powers for good instead of, you know.
Right.
Can you? I mean, never heard of that.
But I think that there's also
men out is also a public good, so I won't say sirens are necessarily evil either. You know,
but I don't think they're necessarily evil. But I've always seen them like. I mean, even if thinking back at like Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, they kind of can be sirens. I mean, they lure them to their death, but also just kind of make them do like.
Well, yeah, I think there's a difference in that. Like, sirens are. There's a compulsion. Mm-hmm. So they're making you do the thing. They're making you want to do the thing, right? Or you're doing what they say. Where it's like if you're, I don't think it's exactly the same. Like I'm not saying it's different. I think it is.
But she's compelling Amari.
It's siren. It's siren adjacent, or like within the family of siren. You know what I mean? Like I think it's in the thing, but I don't think that. Like it's not like I think she's actually healing Amari, not just like making her wake up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but she's compelling Amari's organs to heal, or like her wounds to heal.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, but yeah, that's why I'm like, it's in the
realm of possibilities of what we know about.
Well, no, I just mean like there may be different kinds of sirens or different ways to do. You know what I mean? Like, and she's definitely human. I believe. I think it's just like that's her.
Yeah, because like the
ability.
She pros a mer person, whereas like this person doesn't seem like they are like a water.
Yeah, they're not part human. They're like full human. But I would say that ability is within the siren family.
Yeah. Okay. So everything comes back to her all at once, and right out of her mouth, Moreau, the Black Book, Dylan, did you stop them? Wait, Elsie, did you really breathe fire?
I love the priorities here.
Right?
That's like brain. I'd be like, her brain is.
I love also like I would like ADHD representation. Amari doesn't have ADHD that we know, or that I don't see a lot of it in her characterization so far, but that moment of like all of these thoughts flood in my head and I have no choice but to spit them out right now. And y'all will catch up to me. Elsie laughs. Sure did. It's not a full shift yet, but I think I'm finally starting the process. And Agent Fiona says, as for the rest of us, we didn't do anything. By the time we tracked down the Jolly Roger, you were swept over the Black Book and the Black Key, and Dylan was unconscious inside a cage of lightning. Had a devil of a time getting him out. The cage of lightning
was really tight.
It's really tight. Especially the fact that she is unconscious. And
it's still holding.
The only thing she decided to do was fight back, and her illusion powers took over. They were like, "Bet you do want to fight back? All right, we'll fight back the way that we think is best."
Right.
Cage of lightning.
Then I ask, we did, said Agent Magnus, thanks to you. Can I see my brother and Maria? I've got so much I want to say to both of them. They're still being operated on by the curse breakers, but we're hopeful. Amari lays back on her pillow. It was Dylan the whole time. I get a rush of it's Dylan the whole time. She gets a rush of emotions thinking about it, but couldn't even say what they all are. Amari thinks that she should hate him for lying to her, but there's still a part of her that wishes that they could go back to when they were just friends. The Dylan in Dr. Underhill's office feels like a different person. And I want to say it's kind of because we saw that Dylan was compartmentalizing himself like, whoa.
And I think it's also fair for her to like mourn that. It's like a thing that happens like in a lot of shows, but also, or like in a lot of media, but also just like in general.
In
it's
life.
Somebody that you, in life, like you
someone could try to steal your dog and you're still like, damn, that was my best friend.
Right. Like, like mourning what you thought you had. Like what you
thought exactly. Yeah, you think that like you're this one person and that moment and those like experiences were great, and then things switch up and you're like, oh.
But those
it's hard too,
right?
It's hard too, because whenever you have it, you think you kind of take it for granted that you're like, not for granted, like you do appreciate it, but you take for like granted like the amount of time you'll have to be around that person in that way. Like you like, oh, like I'm going to be able to be around this person for as long as we both live or whatever, and then it's like, oh,
that's canceled. That's done.
Yeah.
Dr. Underhill was a paranoid fella, as any key holder has a right to be. He kept surveillance cameras all over his office. We've got the whole incident recorded. I just want to like say, she tried to like the insurance policy for her and Dylan going off to find the black key was cell phone to Agent Fiona, and then like a Ring camera is what they got.
Not a Ring camera, no, because the man is paranoid, so he had like multiple cameras.
Then I don't. Like,
no, I'm saying like this man was so paranoid. He had like a whole like security like corner room or something, like a what are those rooms called?
A safe room.
A safe room. He had a whole like security safe room with like monitors and like cameras picking up on all the things in his property.
I really hate that wasn't enough for him, and in the end, he still ended up juice.
For me, I'm like, how is the key holder not some level of magical, like where he couldn't have had something? Like he didn't even have like a
I think he probably was
or a trap door or something somewhere. Like what? What?
He probably was, but you know that we know the Bureau knows nothing about magicians, so how is he really to like defend himself?
True. I'm just like, I want to see Moreau say something about like, and he messed up my best pair of robes or something, like, you know, like I want to know something happened.
Probably like also the element of surprise, because to Dr. Underhill, he probably thought Moreau was in Black Hill prison, so he didn't know what was going on. He probably, like, as an illusionist, he probably thought he was treating a patient or something, and then boom.
Yeah.
Night bird. So this part I am upset about. Amari asks, where is Dylan now? And Agent Fiona and Magnus both frown a little bit. Sorry, that's classified information. Bitch, I caught him.
I'm the reason you're in VIP.
Right?
I did this.
I'm the one selling all the records, as Porshèa said a couple of episodes ago. Like, what? Classified? What? So Magnus says, don't go fretting over it. The day is saved. Not bad for your first day as junior agent. Mari's like, I'm a junior agent. I get the scholarship. And then here comes Chief Crow. That's right. Congratulations. Here to, like, you know, walk in with the fun parts.
After it's all said and done, everything's been all wrapped up. Here you come.
But also, what I took this as Director Van Helsing is getting, like, we've gone over his head. Like, whether he got demoted or not, this is no longer up to him. Like, he's got,
it's above him now.
Not only, first of all, he's got 2 magician children that he somehow didn't know about. That's suspicious, even though it shouldn't be, but you know what I mean. He had no clue. And then one of them literally was the magician's apprentice, and stole the black book out from under his nose
and framed his daughter. When politicians are like, I'm taking time off for family reasons or personal reasons, you know, like in the background right now, if they haven't already, there's like convening something. They're like, you look, what did the doctor, I hate this to bring this up because it was very sexist, but when the doctor told Harriet Jones she looks a little tired.
Oh, yeah.
And you know that they're like, maybe you want to take a sabbatical for personal reasons, you know, maybe you need to tend to your home.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like the whole thing is, it's not that it's just that like but he found out the two of it, they or the whole world found out the two of his kids are magicians. I think it's also that like Dylan did his best to besmirch Maria's name before it was all over. So as far as the public knows, Maria is still got a bad. So he's got multiple kids with bad names right now. It's not just that like he's got like one kid
And
with
Laura didn't pass.
And Laura didn't pass.
You got 3 disappointments.
He's got a lot to.
He's the biggest disappointment because then a 12-year-old showed him up in an investigation.
Come on,
a 12-year-old.
Let's talk about.
Who's not even a legacy. She's not even a legacy.
And you weren't even gonna like bring her in,
make her an agent. You demoted her down to trainee.
So all I'm saying is some investigations need to happen, and
talk about
it. Definitely should be making the decisions. So that's like when I saw Chief Crow walk in. That's immediately that was my thought. It's like
my thing is like, but I wish Chief Crow showing up meant actual accountability and not.
Oh yeah, no, she was definitely just there for like
no,
she definitely was there to
PR.
Yeah,
to have a big. It's like I feel like she's like the lady with the big check.
Yeah,
to come in, like it's not like an actual like
ribbon cutting ceremony.
Yeah, like it's now that I'm part of it, I'm gonna make sure everything gets taken care of. Nah, you're just here to scrub everything over and put a pretty like paint everything all pretty, cut and wrap it all up. It's all fine now. No, I'm good.
Yeah. So she asked Chief Crow if she's mad that she went after the Black Key, and Chief Crow says, as you so eloquently explained to Agent Fiona, you were only a trainee, so you weren't technically a member of the Bureau yet. Oh, they grumbled and groaned for 6 hours straight at the emergency session of the Supernatural World Congress, but no one could fault your logic. However, I do hope you'll take something like this to an adult in the future. She did, though.
Multiple times.
And you arrested him.
She was actually, first of all, the adult that you had.
She did, but she went up the chain of command.
She was coming to you and was thwarted.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's on y'all.
Exactly.
And
again, maybe it'll come up in the investigation into Van Helsing.
And let's talk about the fact that Amari's logic stood up to the greatest leaders in their world. Mm-hmm. They couldn't argue with her logic on the greatest court in their universe.
All right. So Magnus like, what in the world were you thinking? And then Amari goes, I was following that look you gave me when Director Van Helsing accused you of letting the hybrids in. Magnus says, that was a help Agent Fiona get the Black Key look, not a go save the world on your own look.
Now, sir, how are you gonna communicate all of that
in a look?
Like,
I need a guide on your looks then. You know,
right.
we
need a lookbook.
A lookbook.
Yes.
Exactly. We need a
literally.
Lookbook. Amari bites her lip and says, you might want to work on your looks then. And then Agent Fiona laughs and says, I'm with Peters. It's like I'm always telling you things would go a lot better if you only put a little more effort into your looks. I think that is personal now. I think we're getting away from investigation.
The fact that she tugged his beard.
And we're getting into it's date night.
She tugged it.
And you have
she tugged his beard. Yeah, she was like, this right here? I've been told you how it felt when you scraping up my legs with your beard now.
Oh my gosh.
Do what you gotta do.
So we're gonna leave that one alone. That seems like we're no longer in bureau business. So, later in the evening, everyone's cleared out of the room, and she gets a visit from the last person in the world she expects, Mama. They finally decided to let her mama know what was going on.
All it took was her baby girl saving the universe and her son, when the adults in a situation would not follow and heed her questioning and answers.
Also, like not knowing where she was.
Your kid is
when they were supposed to be sitting there.
She had to face down the biggest menace to the universe on her own.
Yeah. So her mom runs over and says, baby girl, I'm glad you're all right. When they called me to say you were recovering from something called severe post-magic overexertion, I didn't know what to think.
Yeah, because I would have been like, somewhat? I had never heard of this. I didn't even know magic existed.
It don't matter.
She had overexerted herself.
Right? So then Amari's like, I can't even believe they let you visit me. And Mama responds, I can't pretend to understand half the things I saw on the way down here. There was a man with no face in the elevator with me, but face or no face, nothing was going to keep me away from my daughter. And it's like, yo,
that's a mama.
That's a mama. It was why you should have been told her what was going on from jump. Charles says, they also said you found Quentin. She nods, and then Mama says, oh man, you're going to make me cry. And then they hold each other, crying and laughing. And like, not only does Mama Peters get a phone call being like, your daughter is in a hospital, but also she overexerted her magic. I'm sorry, her what now? Mm-hmm. Oh, and also we found your son. And
she found your son.
It's also in the magical world.
But like the reason why she magically overexerted herself is because she was out trying to find your son, and then she succeeded. Yep. So there's also that. He's in a coma though. She's okay, but he's in a coma. So
yeah, this is a good news, bad news situation.
So Quentin's room is located in the ICU of Department of Supernatural Health, aka the Intense Curses Unit, which I love instead of like intensive care, intensive curses. Mm-hmm. The curse breakers were able to revive Maria, but Quentin hasn't woken up. The senior curse breaker explained that he'd done all he could, and now it's just a matter of waiting. Brother could wake up tomorrow, or he might never wake up. Doesn't know what to do with her hands when Laura Van Helsing runs over and throws her arms around me. Even though it's just a hug, it feels dangerous coming from her, because Laura's still Laura.
It is. Because what the heck?
Hey, why are you touching me? Who gave you permission to touch me?
Why are you touching me?
Come on.
Thank you for bringing my sister back, Laura says. I know I'm probably the last person you want to talk to, but thanks anyway. Like, how about you say I'm sorry?
I was like, she doesn't even apologize.
This is not sufficient for you to talk. There's not sufficient reason for you to touch me. No, there's no sufficient reason for you to really be talking to me either. Let's be honest.
So Amari says, gives her a small smile that told you I do it. I'm hoping that small smile was also a petty smile, and right. I said what I said,
and probably a little awkward too. Like, I don't know why we're having this conversation.
Maybe you'll think twice next time you try to step to me, because what you just did was not like you. I know that had I seen you trying to come with me with your arms out, I would have snuffed that out real quick. Mm-hmm. You're only here by lack of my readiness to bat you away. That's the only reason you're this close.
Laura nods and says about Dylan had no idea. And Amari says he fooled all of us. And then Laura's eyes turn sad and she runs back up the hall towards her mom. I'd have called after her, you're welcome. Mm-hmm. And you're not forgiving.
I wouldn't say anything else to the girl. I'd like, she'd best know not to come step around me no more. Because that lightning cage that her brother got, she can get worse than that. I don't know how to do it.
Without saying you are sorry and showing some remorse. And you're going to be with your brother.
You know that I know my capacity. I know I can do a lightning cage without trying. So try me.
Try Jesus. Don't try Amari Peters.
Don't try me.
So they go into Quentin's room and find him resting peacefully on the fluffiest pillows you can imagine. Maria sits in a chair beside the bed holding his hand, and when she notices him, she stands. Maria Van Helsing, she extends a trembling hand. Can't get over how much prettier she looks in person. Do y'all think there is an Agent Fiona thing going on between Quentin and Maria?
The way she's blushing, making it look suspicious.
Holding his hand and then blushing when they come in.
And the way she blushing, making it suspicious.
Noodle on it and get back to us. No, just think about it.
Keep going. There's more clues.
Okay.
Keep going. Yeah.
Thank you, Maria says to Amari. So sorry that it was me who woke up and not Quentin. The curse breakers think it's because he was giving off more of his life essence, so I'd have to give up less. Aha.
Come on. Hello.
But I think
I feel like that's another clue to
it's just like him to try to one-up me like that. I'm giving a personal grooming look at your appearance, your looks. That's Quentin. Amari says softly, never lets anyone beat him at anything. Maria smiles and relaxes a little bit. Mama says, "There's nothing to be sorry for, sweetheart. I'm sure your family's happy to have you home again."
That's not what she really mean, but it's okay. That's nice.
I think that's what I think she gives off like a good, like,
Sure, she doesn't think that Maria should be sorry.
yeah.
However, her family being happy to have her back.
Mama Peter don't know her family is trash.
I don't care what your family cares about. Honestly, I wish my son was back, but okay, I'm gonna make it
Mama
nice.
Peters might be thinking she comes from a nice, wholesome home like theirs. She don't know.
Yeah,
she don't know the
she has
depth
no
of their
clue.
depravity.
She just saw the
She'll
sister
find out.
hug Amari. She just saw Laura
She
hug
gonna find
Amari.
out.
She don't know.
She didn't hear her say sorry for how I treated you. So
Exactly.
she don't know.
She gonna find out. She gonna find out.
Are you the reason Mama gets to come down here? Amari asks Maria, and Maria flushes again and nods. My family pulled some strings to get special permission. After Dylan, it's really the least we could do.
After you treated Amari all freaking
Maria was asleep.
Look, y'all people need to find out real quick. Real quick. Y'all about to know all the things that happened. Because once now that you can know, I'm gonna let everything come out. We're gonna tell everybody everything that happened. We're not gonna be half doing this. Let's get the full story out here so we can move accordingly.
Porshèa said, "Let the Papa spray on the Van Helsing clan." Do you want to talk to Quentin? Maria asked. What do you mean? That's what I was doing when you came in here. My supernatural ability. No, I'm sorry. There's no point in pretending anymore. It's really just a simple bit of blood magic that allows me to communicate telepathically with anyone I'm touching. If I'm touching two people at once, those two people can also speak telepathically. You go first.
I thought
if it's
this was
blood
interesting.
Magic, why can't you just tell Amari how to do it?
Well, I think she could show. I think it's probably more because I don't know if Amari can use blood magic. I guess it's not yet.
I think we learn more in the next book about a little bit more about like magic,
different kinds of magic, and like what people can use or whatever.
Their affinities.
Yeah, because that part is still not completely clear. But also, I think it's interesting that like this is a kind of blood magic. Like if you hear the phrase blood magic, it sounds a little like creepy and nefarious. And then of course you hear about like what's his name actually literally drinking blood, so then you're like, ooh, it seems like then you're like, okay, this maybe seems like not the branch of magic I want to get into. But if it allows you to do like telepathy, like that's actually kind of cool. And then also like on the other side of it, I'm curious about, because like Maria clearly she decided that like that was gonna be what she, I guess, touted as her supernatural ability, was like that specifically. And so I'm curious like how you decide
telepathy.
Like that particular like magic that she can do, like how she decided like that's the one she's gonna let people know she can use or whatever. And then also like what other ability she has that she would just have to keep hidden. You know what I mean?
I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit. Oh no, I don't think we. Oh yeah, we did. With Dylan like choosing or showing people that he was like lucky or was it, no aim. It aimed.
It was marksmanship. Yeah,
marksmanship, but and not like something with technology, especially knowing that they actually didn't know nothing about tech magic.
That's the thing. It's like I feel like the tech magic would have been like him trying to.
That would have exposed him.
Yes, I'm saying technical ability would have exposed them because they haven't heard of it before. So that would have been something that he would have. Had decided
not that
he could. I feel like they probably would have talked it over. Like I feel like he and Maria probably would have talked it over, or he and the uncle, or they would have talked about it before they.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it might be just like technology is too new as opposed to like Elsie being like a master inventor, like in the 1500s, that might have meant that she invented like steam power or something like that. So it's like I think it might just be it might have been too specific.
Well, I assumed that it would have just been I think that it would have just made some of the moves that he had to make it would have made it harder for him to be undercover.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Like, if you're using magic, right? If you know that if you know that he can use that he has that ability and can do it, then when those things start happening, you're
gonna be suspicious of whenever the passwords get tapped.
Yeah, exactly. And the wards are brought down, like all of that stuff. So I think it made more sense for him to just hide that completely.
That's true. Um,
You go first.
You go first. Amari tells her mom. Maria takes Quentin's hand again, and then she takes Mama's hand. Mama gasps, and then come the waterworks. I try to focus on something else so they can have their moment. But Maria meets my eyes while Quentin and Mama talk. I'm sorry about my brother. Maria whispers, I feel like this has been all my fault. I should have seen him for what he was and not who I wanted him to be. I also love the fact that she can multitask while she's letting them have their conversation. She's not in their
compartmentalizing. Yeah, she's like I'm gonna come on, like this is my brain, like I'm actively gonna be having a conversation with Amari, and I'm not gonna be listening in on the conversation happening in my head between these two.
Yeah.
It's like you can hear them in the background chattering, but she's not actually like tuning into it.
Yeah. Aw. Maria seems like a good egg.
Well, perhaps I'm again suspicious. She's trying to make a good face in front of his family.
Her last name is Van Helsing, and Porshèa don't trust it. So, Amari asks if Maria knew about him being a born magician, and she says, I taught him how to keep his magic a secret from the rest of the family. At some point, he started keeping secrets from me, too. What makes being a born magician so special? It's like Dylan and I are connected somehow, is what Amari asks, and Maria's expression saddens. There are rules against me explaining, and then she produces a card out of thin air. Keep this on you and don't let anyone see it. As long as you have it, they can come to you. And it says International League of Magicians. I just want to say, at this point, I kind of feel like I wish she would be like, damn the rules.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, just tell me what that means real quick.
But she hasn't been through everything Amari's been through. Like, she's been in a coma for...
Or she doesn't even know what Amari's been through.
Yeah, so exactly. So it's harder for her to, like, if this was Magnus talking about those rules, I'd be like, sir, be for real.
Right.
But... yeah, I kind of get why she's, but then also like, I don't know. It's interesting though that there's a whole.
I just feel like
she's also a born magician. We also saw Amari like blatantly being like, "Oh yeah, tech magic," to Magnus, right? So it's like it also feels like in like we were talking about with like the Black Book and the Black Key, and how the rule is that like the Bureau can't have the book because it has the key, or vice versa, I can't remember. The key, it can't have the key because it has the book, and it's like the actual goal of that rule is that those two things are not brought together. And it feels like the goal of the rules around magicianship is so that non-magicians don't have too much information, but like you would want a magician to have the information. So anyway, it also makes sense for them not talk about it.
But she knows there's ears. Like, she's not in a space where she can just talk to Mark freely. She's in like the hospital ward, and Quentin and her mom are like right there.
Yeah, I agree. So even the supernatural world has its secret societies. Maria says they'll find you when the moment is right. Amari's head spins at the idea that there's a whole organization of magicians out there that not even the Bureau knows about, and it makes her wonder if Dylan knew about them and what he thought about it. She thinks of Elsie, her real friend, and decides to ask the question she wanted to get an answer to. Was Vanquish really breaking up? Dylan said you didn't get along and that you were fighting and you really wanted to be a training agent like Fiona. Maria raises an eyebrow. And I answer my own question. Amari says, Dylan said whatever it took to make you out to be the bad guy.
I'm the bad guy.
Maria gives a sad nod. Although I did put in my training agent transfer papers, Quentin was going to transfer as well. When we graduated from junior agent training, we agreed 5 years as field agents and then 5 years as training agents. And at the end, we'd stick with the one we liked best. We, as a unit, as partners.
Sounds like a plans. The clue number 3, making plans
as partners
on plans
for their future
about when and where we're going to be doing our life journeys together.
Amari then asked, did you know about Quentin talking to Director Horace about you? And Maria says, Dylan was stealing classified files using my security codes, and Quentin found out. It's actually what Quentin and I were meeting to discuss when we were taken.
That's how you know. I keep bringing this up because I'm an older sister, and this is like the disrespect, because like you could have gone after our father. You could have used his codes.
Come on.
They would have more clearance than hers does. why would you not? That would have been even more rebellious to go after him. But you're taking your stuff out on me because I'm more convenient to take stuff out on, and I don't appreciate it. Honestly, as an older sister, it's probably because she didn't give him those limited edition kicks herself. He had to go get them.
So she's mad about it.
He's just real salty.
So she asks Amari asks if it's weird that she still misses Dylan a little, even though he lied over and over. And Maria says, if it is, then I'm just as weird. Maybe some good can still come of this. Dylan can't hurt anyone where he's going. And now that I've been outed as a magician, I promise you won't have to be alone anymore. We'll do it together. I love that because I think, like, even though Maria's been asleep this whole time, like, there is a lot of, like, stuff that Maria and Amari can connect over. And then it also gives, like, you losing your little brother to Blackstone prison because he's a criminal. I was going to say super villain. Same thing. But you're getting a little sister, or you're still getting those connections.
She's trying to make inroads for her to be her sister-in-law.
Yep.
That's what
Yeah,
she's trying to do.
And then for Amari, even though she may not be aware of the impending sister-in-law, but, like, you're losing your magician friend, but you're gaining someone who's not only a magician friend, but can also be like a mentor because they've been there, done that. So then it's Amari's turn to talk to Quentin. Chicken Little comes Quentin's voice in her head. Look at that. That's so cute. How's it going is all I can think to say. Oh, just having the best nap ever. I like Quentin.
Silly. He's so silly.
And she asks if he's okay or if he's hurting. And he says, I'm dreaming. Remember how I always said I wanted to go bass fishing?
Bass.
And you would tease me that nobody under 50 goes fishing? Yeah, because it's true. True or not, I'm in the middle of a big white lake with my feet kicked up on the edge of a boat, and I could get used to relaxation like this. And Amari says, only you would dream about fishing.
He's a country boy. That's some country boy behavior right there.
She's like, we live in near downtown Atlanta. Like, we are in the South. You're not in the country. No. Come on, man.
Southern boys, there's some Southerners, even if you live in the city limits, like, you have country cousins.
The nature calls.
To be knowing about that country life, and you just want to be chilling out on your boat. You might live in the city limits, but your heart is with the country.
So Quentin says, you don't know what you're missing. Magnus came by earlier and told him about Amari being a magician like Maria and about all the things you've had to deal with since you've touched the crystal ball. I never meant to throw you into a situation like that. And I love that, like, his first thing is to be like, that was not a part of the plan.
And I can feel that too, because, like, how would he know his sister was a magician?
Yeah. He thought, you'll get some, like, super genius aptitude like I got. And, he also probably didn't realize that he'd be, I think we talked about this, like, he didn't realize he'd be missing when she,
went through the process.
Or hadn't planned on her being missing when she gets into the bureau.
He had the cases for just in case.
Yeah.
But they weren't the only way she was probably going to get invited in. He had other, means.
Yeah. It's cool. If I didn't come to the bureau, then I never would have found you, Amari tells him. Should have known if anyone could it be you. You've always been amazing, sis, and you did this all on your own. And Amari says, I don't like doing things on my own. It's scary, and I never know if it'll work out. And Quentin says, that's part of growing up, Amari. You don't need me anymore. As long as you bet on yourself and believe you can do anything you can. That's why I need you to make me a promise, okay? Mama told me how obsessed you were with finding me. Promise me you won't spend your life beside this bed waiting for me to wake up. Go out and do and see everything. That's what I want for you. Be as great as I know you can be. When I do wake up, and I will, I expect to hear lots of stories. And, like,
they're just so cute.
BRB, let me change my MVP. Because
from the beginning, Quentin. But also, like, I'll say that Quentin, this conversation, like, I really do appreciate that this is for all the people who have lost someone, and there was no moment to talk to them, after they've gone. Like, this is like an opportunity for her to speak to Quentin he's comatose, and there's a possibility that he might be may not be able to recover, and be who he was before once if he comes out. But like through Maria, they're given the opportunity to get to speak to him, and he's coming from it from like a place of like, I'm gonna do my best to come back to y'all, but in the meantime, I need y'all to not be sitting here waiting for me. And that takes like it just shows a lot about his character. Like throughout the story has been about Amari's love for him and how good he is as a character. We've been seeing it reflected through many different people. And then even when it came to him being in this life-threatening situation, he gives off energy to protect his partner rather than like try to like level it out so people have the same opportunity to come out. He takes the bullet, he bites the bullet. So it's like Quentin has always been a stand-up guy, and it shows how much Amari not only has like been shown how to be a good person throughout her brother's and her mother's efforts, but also like how she's been taught how to care and the way that Quentin cares. And Quentin cares hard. He doesn't care just halfway. He cares like all the way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just such a sweet thing to catch here.
And I was also thinking about the fact that like Mama Peters works at a hospital, and they say we hear like earlier in the book about how they always knew, and this has to, I assume, come from her, of like, if you can help, even if you don't have a lot, like you give what you can and you do what you can. And so it's like she just comes from a family of carers. And I think that like Mama Peters played a large role of that with Quentin, and then she gets it from both Mama and Quentin. And so it's just a part of that like Peters pride legacy type of thing to care and like give fully.
Yeah, and I think it's a good parallel to like the first, or not first chapter, but like early chapter when she's able to open the briefcase and like he's like, there's this whole world out here. Something may have happened to me, but I want you to experience this world or whatever. So it's like the same thing now, where like before that was like a recording or an imprint of him, and like this is like him for real, and it's still the same. Like he's very consistent.
Yeah. Which also goes to show too, like when I mean, Magnus wasn't wrong, but when Magnus kept telling her like Quentin wouldn't want you to put yourself in danger for him, or you know what Quentin would do, and it was like, but Quentin would also like do the right thing, and she knew that like in her bones when she was trying to like emulate kind of like her brother. And not that he would want her to put herself in danger, but like he's going to do what he can to care for people, giving out more energy and things like that, versus always playing it safe. Like as her older brother, yes, he wants her to be safe, but he doesn't want her to like play it safe, you know.
Yeah.
But also, I would say for Clinton, I feel sad for Clinton that his impulse for protection of people is to like fall on the grenade.
Yeah.
Like he's like a Steve Rogers kind of character, like where he like the ultimate bravery for him is throwing himself on top of the thing, and is like, I need you to have a bit more self-preservation. I need you to have just a little something, because like, yeah, you care that much about people and you want to make sure that they're all right, but something you like, you going away does not make their life better. And so you got to think about that too. Like you got to think about how like you being there and available is just as important as you like jumping on the grenade.
Yeah, exactly.
In celebration of 8 years of B&C, we've launched our Baddie Road Trip Patreon campaign. Help us reach our goal of $1,000 a month in Patreon support by becoming a patron at any tier, and stay tuned for fun content, community events, and more all summer long. Head over to www.patreon.com/blacknerdscreate.
Here on Wizard Team, it's no surprise that we love books. We also love supporting the independent bookstores.
With our bookshop affiliate link, you can not only get all the books on your TBR, but you can support indie bookstores and B&C at the same time.
And if you're not sure what you want, that ain't no problem. Check out our The Plot Thickens list full of recommendations from none other than Porshèa herself.
Head to www.bookshop.org/shop/BlackNerdsCreate to treat your shelves.
Treat your shelves.
Oh, that's nice. That's clever.
Oh my goodness.
That's clever.
Mama has to stop by her job on the way home. She's worried she might get in trouble for missing a couple of days, but because now they're in the debt of, or because the bureau is in their debt, kind of. Chief Croat called the president of the hospital. Not only is it okay, she's even getting paid for the time she missed. And I like the dichotomy of how they're being treated right now versus how they were treating Amari the whole time.
Now they're rolling out the red carpet. Also, but again, it's the thing of
but also what they had the capability to do the whole time. Yeah. They could have taken care of her this whole time.
Yep. Right. And that's the thing
since they lost Quentin.
And that's the thing is remember Crow is the one who told her that she has to prove that she belongs. And so the way that she was able to, the way she was kind of, in some ways, obviously she would have confronted Moreau and Dylan regardless, because her main goal in thought and priority is saving her brother. But also it took all of that for them to be oh, okay, she's fine, she can stay here, she can become a junior agent, she belongs here, and all that kind of stuff. And so the fact that she had to literally risk her life to do that is messed up.
She had to defeat the magician that no one's been able to get rid of for thousands of years. Mm-hmm. Plus capture the apprentice that was unleashing him, plus make sure that his plot to bring back the second most oldest villain magician ever, it's just, that's proving yourself. What did you do to deserve to be the director? Tell me what your journey was, because I'm confused.
And so I agree with that. I also think it's interesting too that, like you said, they could have been doing this all along. Even if they couldn't, or decided not to tell Mama Peters about Quentin, they couldn't be sending her his paycheck or giving her a lump sum or saying he was, I don't know what they, I forget what
they couldn't have put them in accommodations at the job protection because they weren't sure. We're not sure what's happening with your son being disappeared, but because he's gone, we want to make sure that you're not next. Let's put you in witness protection and make sure you're okay. Yeah. And we'll make sure that you're
something.
You can come back to your job when you come
the
back.
Story about Quentin in the papers and the Bureau of Half Truths and Cover-Ups. I met that young man and he really touched me or whatever. Here's a donation, or in his memory or whatever. They could have been doing more than they did for them. Mm-hmm. And we see how easily they're able to do this now. So while Mama Peters is in the hospital, Amari walks over to a supernatural newsstand tucked inside an alleyway, which is hilarious because now she has her second sight, so she can see all of these nooks and crannies that she didn't see before.
Right, and she never leaves her this new world. It's
she gets the sight, goes to the bureau, and stays at the bureau. So this is her first time now, outside of that.
She's outside, and she's she can both interact with the things and the people that she knew beforehand, but now also just sees this extra thing. So it's oh, I can go buy a copy of Harper's Bazaar or whatever. And
I also love that it's Harper's Bazaar, but it's bizarre,
weird, weird,
and not bizarre
shopping place.
Yeah.
So you think that she'd get some slack on the price because Amari's face is on the cover of so many magazines, but it makes the Hobgoblin charge her double, which is rude. Yous can obviously afford that big shot like Yous. I don't get paid. I'm a junior agent.
Let me tell you how you would think they would give me that benefit, right? Nah.
I'm not getting you don't pay me.
You're a hobgoblin. You want to tell me you've never been turned crooked by the Bureau? I know you have.
I get an apology from the Van Helsings. Get paid.
But every single one owes me an apology. Even Maria. All of them owe me an apology. Have
Maria
I got
apologized.
one? No.
Everybody else didn't.
Yeah.
On behalf.
Yeah. Of her crappy family. She sits under a shaded bench under a tree. The magazine that caught her eye has her and Maria's faces on the cover, and beneath the headline, The Good Magicians. It's proof that at least some people are rethinking how they feel about us. May I sit here? Asked an older man in a dark blue suit. He's got messy salt and pepper hair and a handlebar mustache. Lovely weather, isn't it? He tells Amari. I guess so. Maybe if it wasn't this hot, wouldn't be so bad if I was on the beach, right?
We're just talking about Moreau and him being a freaking older man and predatory behavior. And here, like, and Amari is definitely like stranger danger, keeping it very cute, very short.
Yeah.
Right. So the guy snaps his fingers, and suddenly the bench isn't next to the hospital. It's sitting on white sand, leading to a clear blue ocean that stretches out to the horizon. The sun sets behind us, and a cool wind whips across her face. Better? No, sir. You just abducted me after I've been abducted.
First of all,
I am a child. No, not better. Amari turns and looks at the man and says, "Are you from the League of Magicians?" She's like,
because I'm not about to play with y'all.
The meeting that she's been waiting for. Because I'd have been like, listen, too soon.
You should have just introduced yourself first. You know what I'm saying?
Right?
Like, say something before you start, like, changing the scenery.
Magicking me off to a whole new place. Can my mama see me? Am I actually?
That's what I was gonna say. I'm like, let me.
That we're at the beach, and my mama can actually still come get me, or did you take my ass to the beach? Because
that's what I was gonna. I was like, I don't know where you come from, how y'all do it, but all I know is if my mama can't see me,
I'm in trouble.
After all I went through, and what her just getting her baby back. We're both gonna have a problem. Not just me. We're both gonna have problems.
You know that her mama was like, okay, granted, it is hot. You do not have to sit in this car while I go talk to my boss. But you better stay in eyesight.
You best be my line of vision when I come around here.
Right?
I best be able to see you.
You
I'm trying to get me in trouble with my mama.
I just got out of trouble.
Come on.
Sir. So he dips his head. This man's name is Cosimo Galileo Leonardo de Pazzi. But his friends or his colleagues call him Cosmo. Like, listen. It's a lot of names. And I don't know if y'all know about this,
Cosmo.
but I've heard the more names, the less trustworthy the person.
Where did you hear this?
I don't know, in my brain. It just felt right.
I don't know. It's just that if you have like multiple first names,
don't trust anyone with two first names. I agree with that as well. Even though now people are like, "Oh, Jordan's a first name." Jordan is not a first name. Jordan is the last name, and then some dude was good at basketball, and y'all kept naming your babies after him. But that ain't got nothing to do with me.
I mean,
it ain't got nothing to do with me and the people who enslaved my ancestors.
I mean, I know that's right. I'm not gonna act like we don't have the same ancestors, but I'm just saying this is funny.
Don't judge me with two first last names. All of a sudden, I'm in that. I'm not in that.
I mean,
stop making last names first names then. Anyway. His colleagues call him Cosmo, and his ancestor helped Vladimir create the spell you conjured to save yourself the other day, Knights of the Round. Is that what happened? I didn't really know what I was doing.
I was gonna say she was in her armor and stuff. Definitely giving Arthur.
So it says, it's why your magic took over. Through sheer willpower and self-belief, you summoned all of your magic and demanded it take action. And my dear girl, it heeded your call. But this is my question. Is like, if his ancestor helped Vladimir create that spell, and she didn't read about it, I guess we don't know if she read about it in Madame Violet's book.
Was it?
Well, no, it's
in
the black book. So one of the things before she passed, so she demanded her magic. No, the black book was next to her. It flips open, and then that's when the Amari spring out. So I don't think she like consciously used the spell, but because the black book was right next to her and she had all of her magic at her disposal, the magic was like, okay, what's the closest thing we could use?
Gotcha.
And like, yeah.
That is a handy magic. Like you can
Yeah,
if there's a book in the vicinity that can tell me what like inherent subconsciously tell me how to fight or like how to handle the situation, it'll like flick through and give me the best option.
and I
Yeah,
like
because
the
I was
idea
like,
that
how do
like
you?
it's
If
not
it's something that happens unconsciously, then like you didn't create the spell. It's like you maybe have discovered or put a name to the spell and
right.
formalized it, but it's something that is like innate magic. But I guess if that makes sense, if the black book was open, then it might have like channeled the magic channeled or the
Hmm.
magic has sentience. I don't know.
I mean, I kind of like the idea of the magic being like slightly. I don't know that it's sentient, but like
Mm-hmm.
of you not having to like train for it to
Direct
work. You
it.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
she's not having to like know all the spells in order to fight. Like she really is like inherently within her. And I don't know if that's 100% if that's true for like all magic or if that's just if you're a born magician. That's the
It's
case,
giving
but the idea that like her magic is still there and can protect her um regardless of like what she's
her
learned
skill level.
herself. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's giving anime magicians whenever they have a book and they flip it open, it just kind of like magically just pages over, flip, and then a spell comes out, and then it's like anime spell shows up, and then just takes everything out. Like it's giving anime magician, and I love it.
Well, I feel like
Mhm.
to me, it wasn't, or the way that I'm understanding it, it's not that her magic is reading the book, but more that the book is like recognizing the magic, and the book has a little bit of magic too, and is able to like help form it in the absence of Amari's conscious mind forming it, which is also a
Mhm.
little bit scary because the Black Book got some dark stuff in, or some not so great stuff in there as well. And if I have a thing about magic objects getting a level of like sentient or
Yeah.
independence that I don't love. TARDIS being one of them
It's
as well.
it's like it's
AI
just
with
weird.
magic, and I don't like it.
I want to see it explored more honestly because it's kind of cool, like in the ways of like that is dangerous of like storing your passwords in one space. Like that's dangerous and risky to do, but also very like convenient. And I feel like most of the times you see spell books do something like that, it's out of convenience. Like I think with the spell book from Hocus Pocus with the eye in it, and how it's like the eye opens and closes and like interacts with the witches and whatever power struggle they're going through. And it's interesting to me. Like I don't think that I've ever seen it really explored like very like thoughtfully, like how sentient spell books, um, how they form their connections with people, and or what they do of giving too much connection or too little connection.
Ooh, I feel like Portia might be writing a story about this. I'll read it,
Perchance,
but I'm not happy
perchance.
about the implications here. It literally gives me magic AI, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Okay, so Amari thinks about um, if the smaller snake in the constellation with Director Horus was actually her own magic, it was separate because it was acting on its own, responding to what I wanted and how I felt, unstoppable. Who are you guys? She asks Cosmo. Have you always been around? Cosmo wrinkles his brow. The terrible magicians the supernatural world has come to know these last 7 centuries have all been newly made apprentices of Moreau. The League of Magicians, on the other hand, are the recipients of magic handed down through the years from a spare few of Vladimir's original apprentices. We exist entirely separate from the Bureau, although we have allowed the Van Helsing magicians into our ranks, the latest being Maria Van Helsing. Is she in trouble now that everyone knows she's a magician? You and Maria represent a situation the League has never dealt with, while many of us, including myself, have long advocated revealing ourselves to the Bureau and the rest of the supernatural world. The majority of our order still believe it's safer to continue to pose as ordinary people, but then perhaps you will tell us how to proceed. Um, and then she's like, "Why me?" And then Cosmo says, "Or it could be Dylan Van Helsing." Um, The next two born magicians have both been identified. That makes it a brand new age. Like all those born magicians that came before, your connection, be it as friends or rivals, has the potential to shape the world, child. Consider these words both a courtesy and a very dire warning. You are hereby invited to join the League of Magicians, Amari Peter. With all that's to come, I do hope you accept the invitation. And with a bow of his head, Cosmo shrinks into a bird and flaps away. He brought her
First
back
of
to the
all,
hospital.
But he didn't flap away before bringing
Brought
her
her back to
back
the
to the
hospital,
street.
and then he flapped
yeah,
away.
back to the hospital. So first, here's the sequel bait. But also, y'all were like, okay, as soon as these born magicians are revealed, I don't care how old they are, they're about to determine our entire fate. That
seems unwise.
Leaving the fate of the world. Here's my thing. He said, "This is I'm already I'm already always sus, but what throws the sus flag on my radar closer to more sus than less sus on this guy is that he starts off with the misdirect of we're entirely separate from the Bureau, though we have allowed the Van Helsing magicians into our ranks. The latest being Maria, and then brings it into, but perhaps Dylan. So Dylan's not even part of your ranks.
No.
And yet you're going to cite him as either being the one who leads you or Amari. But he's not even part of your ranks yet. You haven't even interacted with the boys, what you're telling me.
Nope.
And yet,
we'll see. Maybe he'll lead us. If you won't.
And
the idea that obviously the two of them have very different ideologies. And outlooks. And he's like, either way, I'm good either way.
Yeah, and I think one thing that is really interesting, and spoiler alert, there is a second book, Amari and the Great Game, but one thing that's really interesting about it too is that when she asked about if they'd get in trouble because they've now been outed, and he's like, there's been some discussion. I personally think we should be public, and then some other people in our ranks think we should stay silent. And it gives me this moderate thing where it's you got to stand for something at a certain point. Mm-hmm. And it feels like they're pushing the responsibility off on the born magician, which is something that I would really like to understand a little bit more of in terms of
but it's also hilarious. It's how this is for insight into my brain. When I'm being indecisive, I'm like, oh, let me put it to someone else to make a decision for me because I can't. So let's just do that. And they're like, so you put off decision making on whether or not y'all should be out or not on the next time born magicians are introduced to the world, and it just so happens that these two 12-year-olds are now known to be born magicians, and that's when you're ready to lay the fate of whether y'all will be out and proud and doing what proudly being awful or good on these two kids who were just forced into
got here.
Amari doesn't know anything about this world, and if she would have known she needed to hide being a magician, she might have done it because there's no way that she would not have known that she needed to hide herself. And then Dylan was hiding this whole time, and you only know about him because he just showed up with Moreau. So what is really truly happening with the magicians? Am I supposed to trust the society who does not seem to have it together and is instead throwing decision making onto my back, and I'm 12? I should trust you?
Yeah, it's I'm looking to you for guidance.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's now my decision. I think it's also interesting, or I thought this part stood out to me, is that he says, the terrible magicians of the supernatural world have been newly made apprentices of Moreau. The League of the Magicians, on the other hand, are the recipients of magic handed down through the years from a spare few of Vladimir's original apprentices. So it kind of also sets up the fact that Vladimir may not have been as bloodthirsty as Moreau. We don't, this is.
But he also ain't nothing either, because why is y'all decision making still coming down to some Vladimir didn't put any infrastructure into place for y'all to have any decision making capability.
Right. Well, I don't think Vladimir founded the League.
I don't think it was. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he founded it either. But
I also don't know that it. I also don't know that it means.
But he ushered in the people who could do it.
Yeah, but I also don't know that means that Vladimir was. I was gonna say I don't think that means that Vladimir is better than Moreau, or that Moreau was more bloodthirsty. It could just be that Vladimir died thousands of years ago, right? Like that's a lot of time for those magicians to like evolve in their views when they don't have bruh like hanging over them the whole time. You know what I mean? Whereas like Moreau's apprentices had Moreau with him, so he's very much steering their direction in a way that like Vladimir's apprentices wouldn't have had. So
It's
even
kind
if
of
the
giving
first
Star
ones were
Wars.
kind of wild, like as they, they could have been diluted as they go on.
Yeah,
it's kind of giving Star Wars. It's kind of giving Sith, like this.
Yeah.
This what they have, like one master and one apprentice. It's kind of giving that.
Well, and my thought process, not that like Vladimir is less wild than Moreau or anything like that, but like my thought process is just that like the League of Magicians have already kind of made a distinction, right? Like the terrible magicians, and he calls them terrible. He doesn't have to say like the magicians that you've read about or like the known, you know what I mean, or the magicians that have caused the most controversy or the controversial magicians, right? Like terrible is a very much like a negative statement. So it feels to me like the League of Magicians have put some sort of categorization or separation between Vladimir apprentices and Moreau's apprentices already. So if you're willing to do that, right, like Moreau's apprentices are not invited to join the league, I'm assuming, then why aren't you willing to then take a stand or like make some more like structure? You know what I mean? That's what I was getting at. Not that like they're inherently good or evil, but just that like they've already kind of put some delineation between the two types of magicians.
Yeah.
So why not go even further? And Porshèa was saying, like, why are you waiting for 12-year-olds to then make this determination,
Your next
right?
move,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. So
and also they've had like if Moreau was thousands of years old, then they've had like what thousands of years to get it together at least.
Yeah.
Like at least 500. So whenever if Vladimir died not too long ago, but not too long ago was like only 400 years ago. Like what are we doing?
No, I think he died before, because I think Abraham Van Helsing is the one who killed him. Like he was the one who that ended that war.
He died at the start of the Bureau.
Yeah.
Right. So that's so much. That's centuries.
Yeah.
Of you not knowing what you're gonna do until 12-year-olds.
They've been vibing.
They've been kicking the can down the road.
They're like, we're all vibes, you know?
Yeah. And that's the part that makes me like not a little bit nervous, but also just intrigued about like what this means for Amari, because like you cannot tell me that after centuries you don't have some inkling or some leaning one way or the other, because your entire life you've been hiding. And so if you are like what Cosmo says, many of us, including myself, have long advocated for revealing ourselves. So your Cosmo's an older, what did she say? Like he's like he looks like he's in his 50s.
Here's my thing. I like that.
An older man, she doesn't say, but messy salt and pepper hair and a handlebar mustache. Like this man has lived enough life that I would think
he has his own agenda for sure.
I have or I have made up my mind. I'm not waffling between whether or not I want to be private.
No, I don't think he's waffling. It's more a matter of
going along with the
choice.
Crowd. But like I would know if I disagree with this and I'm just falling in line, or if I agree. You know what I mean? Like I would have a strong opinion by this point.
It's a red flag of these people are clearly have made peace with there not being a clear leadership or centralization of power within the ranks of being magicians, right? Like they've all agreed to not build someone being like a leader in a leadership structure of some sort, because of multiple reasons. I will get into what those are in the next book whenever we end up talking about it. But it's like Amari has to be on a red alert, because if they've already made up their mind about how they feel about the universe and how they want to move, they're going to be using like no matter what, Dylan and Amari are gonna be set up to be pawns.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna have grown adults using you for their own ends because they've already decided how they want to do life, and they're just gonna use you to tip the scale into how things go next.
Right, because like if you take their reasoning, Moreau has made his stance pretty clear that he wants magicians out and proud and supreme over, but like he doesn't think magicians should be in hiding, right? So he's a born magician. Why aren't they listening to his directives? You know what I mean? And we don't really know what Vladimir thought, but it seems like they fought a war, so Vladimir was fine with being an out and proud magician. So that seems like if the onus is on like only a born magician can make this decision, then the born magicians that were currently like in this old era, since Amari and Dylan are ushering in this new era, the old era was very clear, be in the open, and they decided to like ignore that. So it feels like there is a lot more underneath the surface going on
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. And it's like it's not looking good. Like your predecessors were these two awful people, and it's like, and it kind of like not to give them anything. So they don't need to be given anything. But then it also makes you wonder, like, did they become so bad because like these magicians were like, okay, yeah, y'all lead, and then like when they made a decision, they're like, oh, actually, no, we're not gonna. Like, what do you go through as a person where you're like, everyone's waiting for me to lead, and then when you get to leadership position, they're like, actually, we don't want to listen to you at all. Like, we're good.
Yeah, I don't know. But it also is like, I think we have to remember, from how I understand it, all of these magicians, if you're not a born magician, you're in a, like, you were given your power from someone else. Like a born magician, Vladimir or Moreau had an apprentice, and then that apprentice decided whether or not he would make another apprentice or give a portion of his power. It's like all gifted.
It sounds like vampirism, honestly.
Yeah. Ooh, yes. Yes, it does. So I don't know if there's something to that as well. Like, what is the they kind of know that they didn't agree or fall in line with Moreau, and they were just waiting. Their plan was like, we'll just wait for the next born magician, and then get them when they're young and mold them into the into what we want them to be. Who knows? But yeah, so he flies off and shrinks into a bird and flies off, which is also really cool to think that Amari can become a bird. She spends the next day freaking out about the warning, and then decides, like, I'm not going to worry about it. I got other things going on. Quentin is still in a coma. So she's thinking back to what Maria said in Quentin's room. With Dylan locked away for his crimes, she has time. She's like, hopefully for many years to come, whatever connection they share won't matter for a long time. So for now, since the summer camp is still canceled until next year, she puts her thoughts and energies into something else.
I love how she thinks she has years.
Yeah.
I love how she's like, you know what? This is fine. I won't have to worry about this for.
Yeah.
So
Cosmo came the same day you found Quentin and you were outed as a magician. Cosmo was at your mama's work.
Like right
at the bench. Like,
you're like,
go.
I have.
And Maria told you that they could track you wherever the card was. Mm-hmm. So like you've had a tracker on you for a minute. Like literally a minute. Like you didn't have it on you for like literally you've only had this tracker on you for a minute.
And he was like,
and here they come.
Here we go. Here I come. And she said, I got years.
You rang. But like also like I love that about protagonists and tells. Like I like when authors write the protagonist as like hopeful in a way that like you can see and projected like hopes that they have going forward, like what they might want to do next, and how those are easily foiled because you're the protagonist, you don't get what you want. Like, what are you talking about?
So now that Amari says she's got years, she has a bigger mission, or she has something more pressing. She talked about it with Quentin, and she knew exactly what requests she would offer. She would make. Because the Supernatural World Congress granted her a congressional request as a reward for saving the world. I love their like, thank you for saving our world. We'll give you one favor. Thank you for ensuring our continued existence. You can ask us one thing and we'll grant
One
that.
thing.
She should, like, this is something I want to push. I want to talk about for a second. Just 1 second. I have a friend. I have a colleague who I'm pretty cool with at my job, and he's younger than I am. And he also has come from like grown up in the city and more like private school spaces, and went to a private college. And the way that his first inclination for anything with stakes in hand is negotiation. And I'm like, that's something that I did not pick up from my public school or like college at all. Is like, always be ready to, everything is a negotiation. And I should have picked it up. And I really admire him for being like, he negotiates financial aid for like grad school. He's like, this, oh, this is an open negotiation, like I can keep. And I'm like, I never was
I don't
taught
think about that
to
either.
negotiate
That was
for
one
those
thing where like
things.
people this last position that I got was the first time I negotiated my salary, and
Mhm.
people are always like, you have to negotiate your salary. Like, no,
I've been knowing to
even if
negotiate
you
my
like,
salary, but never for like school.
no, but
Never
but
for
like
like.
for me, it's like if they offer something that like I would only think to negotiate if I'm like I actually it's too low. But like I have been lucky enough where like they'll offer like the first offer is like what I was looking for or hoping for, or sometimes it's more than I was hoping for. Um, and then people are like, "Well, you should always ask for something," and I'm like, "Why? I'm good. That sounds
And
good. Like, that's good to me."
I'm like, but like, and so that's what I'm feeling here. I'm like, if Amari would had no, if some, I just wish for Amari that she had some, like, if Dylan were a better person, or Maria like knew what she was going through, like if they could just tell Amari that that's a paltry offering from the the World Congress, telling them to come back with you some better things for you besides one request. Nah, speak to me again, because I will go to the papers and I will tell them about all the things, what kind of reasons how y'all messed up. I will tell y'all about how y'all covered up for the Van Helsings. I will tell everything. Give me what I want.
Give me
We're
what
gonna
I
get
deserve.
we're gonna get 5 requests.
Said,
My
earn
mama
me.
not gonna work at the hospital no more. We're gonna, like, you gonna pay me a freaking salary. Like, let's negotiate. Like, let's negotiate for real. Like, I need for Amari to have had someone in her corner to tell her that, like, and help her to negotiate. Because, like, that one little freaking request, that is paltry, and they would not have gotten away with that if it had been someone from the Legacy family. No.
I mean, someone from the Legacy family would have got a ticker tape parade. They would have got themselves some branded shoes. They would have got some, like, where's the Amari action figure? They would have
Like,
been had some brand deals.
Like, they would, like, nah, like, if she needs someone who like has that, like, an initial inclination is, let's negotiate, mamas. Like, we're not gonna sit here with this one request.
Yeah.
No.
So she talked to Quentin about her one request, and she knows exactly what it's going to be. Mama would kill me if she knew I was headed to a boy's house in the middle of the night. Kira or not, there are just some things that you cannot get away with, and going to a boy's house in the middle of the night is one of them. So she goes down the stairs to the apartment building and knocks on Jaden's door, already knowing that Jaden's mama is not home. I'm not one to call CPS, but I think about it. Jaden enters the door, rubbing sleep out of his eyes. Will you put on a shirt? Mari, what are you doing here in the middle of the night? I'll explain after you get dressed.
I don't know how much we've talked about Jade and Amari and this, like, cute little crush situation they got going on, but
we talked about it and how Dylan was trying to usurp, but
no, it's not happening.
It's not. Amari can't even talk to him, and she's like, I need you to put.
Can you put a shirt on, please? Like, she can't even,
because I'm attracted. Okay,
she's already like, my mom is gonna be upset enough about me sneaking out to go talk to a boy, and you don't have on a shirt. It's not looking good here.
I'm trying to focus. I got important things to discuss, and I cannot do that while you were shirtless, which is hilarious because I'm thinking about like a 12-year-old, maybe 13. I think he might be 13. He's a little bit older. I'm thinking about how scrawny. Mari's just like, I need you to She's
But you know what?
overheated. I'm like,
when you're 12 or 13, it don't take much. It's just like, it is very crushed. Like, oh my gosh, like I'm just like hot and I don't know why. It just makes me hot.
I'm
The
feeling
blush.
feelings I don't
I'm
understand.
uncomfortable.
Meanwhile,
Yeah.
I'm picturing limbs, just
I'm-
limbs. Not a muscle to be seen. Not an ab. Just flat,
Just
sharp angles.
adorable.
So cute. Big knees. You know when they're like that, they're so like their knees.
It's nudity. It's just
sprouted
like it's
up so
nudity,
quickly.
honestly.
Just
It's
having
like, you know, like they're just
The
you can
feet.
speak
I'm
at a
thinking
park.
about like Proud Family La Cienega feet size.
And you could
It's
be
like,
like
I
at
need
a
you to
water
put on a
park,
shirt.
and it's just like it's completely socially acceptable for you to be shirtless right now, and you're scrawny and you're 12. However, you know that doesn't stop activating like you're nude, and it makes me like my brain like what?
I don't have all of the hormones, but I have enough to know that I need you to put this shirt on so we can have this conversation. So they go up to the
Wait, when he says he's like, dressed for what? And then she goes, do you trust me or not? And
he says,
like, okay,
give me a second. And Bayana said, I know that they're children, but I ship it.
No, I'm just saying that they're very cute.
They're very cute.
They are cute.
So he throws on his Food Mart t-shirt because he's been working there for the last week. I think that is also really cute. So they go to the like, where are they going?
Yeah, that it's like it's because it shows it's sweeter because it shows that he listened to Amari whenever she was like, I need you tonight, and he was like,
he got out of his little hood boys. I forget what they were called.
But it's sweet because like she just asked him if he trusts her or not, and then the thing that he puts on is a show of his trust in her.
Yep. So they go to the roof, and then he says, you know, I don't run with those boys up the street no more, trying to leave that stuff alone, man. And I love that because she's like, that's actually why I'm here. Follow me. Waits for him to ask where they're going, but he just follows her. And he says, I thought maybe you forgot about me. I haven't seen you around much. And she says, oh, just been busy saving the world and stuff.
She's 100% dead ass.
He laughs.
She's telling the truth.
Realizes they're going to the roof. So it says, promise me you won't freak out. And he said, girl, please, nothing freaks me out. So they step onto the roof. Jaden comes up after her, and his eyes go so big they nearly pop out of his head.
So he's promptly freaked out.
Promptly freaks out. And he says, I know I'm not that sleepy. Is that a boat? That's how I read. Is that a boat? Sure is. You coming or not? Oh, I'm cool. Just give me a second to get myself right, he says. Takes a few steps and then steps.
No. He takes a few deep breaths.
Takes a few deep breaths and then goes inside Jolly Roger 2.0. I don't know what's going on, but this is some next level stuff. How'd you get a boat up here? Like, the boy's asking the right questions. Okay,
it's like, what is happening?
And then says, I brought it from a family member. Besides, you haven't seen anything yet. And she gives him an envelope. Jane takes it and reads aloud, nomination for consideration for the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs. And then looks at her and says, am I being pranked? And says, no, just listen. You used to be a part of Quentin's tutoring program, but I also know that you gave up on that school after he went missing. Well, I'm going to restart the program. And he says, for real, you're going to start it up yourself? And she says, I know I'm not Quentin, but I think I could be just as helpful because you are smart. You just need someone to have your back the same way Quentin always had mine. That nomination won't make much sense yet, but if you promise to really give the tutoring a shot, it will. Tonight, I'm going to give you a taste of what I mean. And then she touches the will. Jaden, who is freaked out by nothing, his jaw drops, and she gives him a wide grin and says, tonight, we're going to go look at some trains. And that's the end.
Interesting how Dylan, who was trying to be slick, said he had like the ability to steer a boat after playing a video game. Yet Amari, all she did was watch a boat on autopilot 2 times before she was ready to actually get a boat to lift off without any hassles.
I mean, she talked to Quentin another time, so he might have given her some pointers, and like she got Maria's contact information. I just don't think that Amari has so much ego that she wouldn't be like, "Yo, I'm about to take this boy on this boat."
I just love that
And I'm trying to
Amari
look
did what she
cool.
needs to do to
Right.
save this boat, to take this boy on a magical ride where she shows him the world.
I can show you the
And-
world, shining, shimmering, splendid.
This boy has literally been swept off his feet
Tell me, Prince,
by Amari and her magic.
when did you last let your heart decide? That's it. That is not only the end of the chapter, but the end of the book. I love Amari's ability to immediately pay it forward. Of all of the things, like I would have been like, my request is that I am treated like every other trainee or junior agent. I am able to use my magic freely within like the bounds or whatever. That magicianship is no longer a crime. That's my request is that magicianship is no longer a crime.
Negotiations.
And she was like, there's this really cute boy in my neighborhood, and he's very smart, and he has a lot of potential, and I think that I should be allowed to nominate him early. So, you know.
I think both are valid. If she had negotiated, like Porshèa said, and had more than one request, I'm sure the magician one would have been number 2.
Yeah. Who is your MVP for the chapter?
Amari. Mostly because of what you were talking about, Robyn, about just her ability to pay it forward and like not taking her new, I guess, position for granted. Or not position, but like positionality for granted. And also for Side-Eye and Cosmo, because that man is suspicious.
I made Quentin my MVP. I think like we saw in that short conversation, telepathic conversation that he had with Amari, but also like kind of in the way that Maria is interacting with him, and then how happy Mama Peters was that he was found, like just how integral and special he is and how much he means to everyone, and that like he actually deserves the hype. Like I think that was like, we didn't get to, I mean, we saw him very early in the book in the waking dream, and so that was like an amalgamation of him and his memories and stuff like that, but like this is finally like Quentin in his own voice, even though he's still in a coma, and he's funny and he's supportive and he makes people laugh and he's loving, and you see all of that in like just this very short amount of time, and you're like, yeah, I could see why you would dedicate yourself to finding him and believing in him and knowing that like his disappearance is not, you know, what people were trying to make it out to be.
I mean, my true MVP is, and this is, it might sound like butt kissing, but I don't care. My true MVP is BB Alston. This book was a debut, and it did not have to go this hard, and yet it rocked my relationship with Black magical books. And I'm so happy that this book exists. I'm so happy that we've gotten to talk to him before. Hints for possibilities next. And like this, I got to share this book with a niece. That you got to share it with Aminata. I'm sure you're gonna share it with Kit.
I shared it with my little cousin / nephew, and he was doing the same thing. He was like, Dylan. I was like, yes.
It's like it gives so much joy to so many people from so many different age groups, and that's really hard, and that's magical in itself. And I'm so glad that we were able to do this as a podcast, because it honestly is one of, I can't think of a better book to break down and talk about with people that like hasn't gotten like more like recognition. Like, and I hope it does. I hope it gets so much recognition, because it's just such a great book.
Yeah, that's very fair. So who are you benching?
Cosmo. just because he's for being weird and just all of the things we discussed.
And in a not delightful way. Like,
I wasn't sure who to bench before we started recording, but like as we kept talking, I was like, oh nah, he gotta sit down. He can even take the one he was sitting on with Amari when she leaves, you know?
Yep.
And he could have been like a quirky magician. He could have been like fun, you know what I mean? He had this whole vibe, like he's just like a fun little mustache. Over here,
he had to be weird.
Yeah. If you're gonna be weird, at least be eccentric. Like, come on.
It's fair. I feel like the same kind of thing where I actually was like I thought beforehand I was gonna make Amari my MVP, but then as we were recording and talking about it, it's so funny the things that like stick out to me when I'm reading the chapter beforehand, but like really like I don't know, my brain decided to like harp on while we're recording, and so I had to bench Amari for that one request. For just accepting that one request.
She doesn't know any better.
I know, but like, for saving the Bureau.
She doesn't know any better.
Saving the Black Key and the Black Book, the whole basis of the Bureau's foundation.
She doesn't know. She doesn't know to negotiate. She hasn't been taught to be a negotiator.
I know. So maybe I should also, because she talked to Quentin and Quentin didn't say, go back and demand your words. Maybe I should have also made Quentin I don't know, the people around her support, her mentors in the Bureau. I don't know. Maybe I'd bench the Bureau for only offering that one thing. Lowballing her.
The Magical Congress is wilding, to be honest.
Maybe the Congress needs to be benched for lowballing, but like one request. And I like Jaden, and I'm very excited about their future shenanigans and adventures together, but that being the request, he could wait a couple years until you get where you need to go. Your existence is still a crime.
The thing is that like he's been his whole life he's had to wait, and it's made his life worse for it. And so I think she was trying
don't make me feel bad about the fact that like she made a very selfless and good decision. I understand why she did it, and like I said, I like Jaden, and I wouldn't even be mad at it if she had an extra request. But 'tis what it is.
Yeah, I guess on the unfairness of it all, I'm just gonna bench the Magical Congress because F y'all. Like, seriously? Okay. Like, y'all, like that, like this whole time, all it took was Chief Crow going to the hospital and telling them like, no, you're gonna pay this lady, and that's all it took. Like honestly, I'm just like I've talked about it throughout the podcast, the season, how over I've been the authority figures in the story. And yeah, like when I hear there's a magical arm that the first thing they do when the world is saved without their input at all is to like, this is the treatment of the person who made up for their lacking. Nah, y'all are completely trash. Goodbye.
Yeah, for real.
And with that is a final thank you for listening for Amari and the Night Brothers. We'll be back to do a wrap up of the book, and then we'll be on a short hiatus. Make sure to stay tuned and find out which book we'll be covering next.
Wizard Team is brought to you by Black Nerds Create. If you want to keep up with our other content, you can check out our website at blacknerdscreate.com. Follow us on Twitter at blacknerdscreate, at Yana wrote it, at Robyn_rambles, and at Porshèa. Follow us on Instagram and Tumblr at Black Nerds Create. Subscribe to our monthly magic newsletter, and don't forget to rate and review. And remember, since we will be back to do a wrap up of the book, you have only a few short time to get all of your MVPs and benches in. So make sure that you do that by either using our form, or you can also vote if you listen in Spotify. And we will see you later. Thanks for sticking with us, and I hope you enjoyed Amari and the Night Brothers.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.